So I have a question. If socialism always fails every time it's tried, and the leader of Venezuela is just a poor manager who made bad decisions, who led to the starvation of his own people, why are we here 4 years later with our vice president going hat in hand to Latin American countries asking them for their help in isolating Venezuela? Can we not do it ourselves? Clearly not. What you're looking at here are all of the countries in the world that have formalized relations with Venezuela since the election. Now, I pulled up some tabs and some information today, and I'm going to warn you right now, it's going to make a lot of you mad. But it's the truth, and that's what you're going to hear here. Because there's too many similarities and too many parallels for anyone with an honest mind to deny them. My next question is this. If this is right, was this wrong? Or was this right making that right? That our administration now and the administration then seem to have the same policy. Now, in this particular article, there's some things that I think would stun you to show you how long this has been going on. I'm just going to read a couple quick paragraphs. The GWB administration had a stated policy of trying to isolate Venezuela from its neighbors, and the strategy ended up isolating Washington instead. The previous administration, in his first meeting with hemispheric leaders in Trinidad in 2009, promised to turn a new page, but today his administration finds itself even more isolated than that of his predecessor, and for much the same reasons. Consider the lopsided vote on Venezuela at the Organization of American States earlier this month. Now, this article is being written in 2014 here. So this would have been February 2014. Not only did the OAS reject Washington's attempt to get the organization to intervene in Venezuela, but to add insult to injury, 29 countries passed a resolution expressing their solidarity with the government of President Nicolas Maduro, with only 3 against. It is hard to imagine a more resounding diplomatic defeat in a body where the U.S. government still has a disproportionate influence. Now, this was 2014. Fast forward to 2017, and we have this. 2018. Venezuela scores victory as U.S. fails to secure votes for OAS suspension. This was yet another time, more recently now, that the U.S. tries to do the exact same thing. Now, this time they're only 5 votes short, but I think that has to do a lot more with how bad things have gotten in Venezuela and how much these countries are going to need to kind of hedge their bets both ways. Now, here's the part that's going to probably make most of you lose your mind. Now, we know about this. We've talked about this recent report that we covered, that the current leader made inquiries about invading. This is from 2004, I believe. I'm sorry, Sunday, 21 April 2002. Venezuela coup linked to Bush team. Now, this was back when Chavez was in charge. And they actually did knock Chavez out of power for about 2 days. And it all fell apart. And we had egg all over our face. A lot of you know about this. So this is O2. This is W. Ready for this? This is the part where I think you're going to go, oh my goodness. This is a long-hatched plot that's not changed at all recently. The previous administration tried to force the change of a political regime that resists it. 12 February 5th, 2015. Blackwater plane disguised as an aircraft of the Venezuelan army. Remember that. The plane. Supposed to bomb the presidential palace and kill the leader of Venezuela. And then install this Maria Corina Machado, the leader of the resistance. Now, here's the part that I think you guys are going to go, okay, that makes sense. As we read down here, and this is voltairenet.org, you can read this for yourself, they show the general, but then they show the plane. Now, who remembers recently that we just lost a pilot at White Sands in a test? They were supposedly testing two different planes, the AT-6B Wolverine and the Embraer Super Tucano. Guess what plane was used by Blackwater back in 2015? An Embraer Super Tucano was used in this failed attempt, and they have the plane. They even went on state TV with it. I remember when this happened. So, strangely enough, all about the time this is happening, we lose, quote-unquote, a pilot in a, quote-unquote, accident at White Sands, flying this exact plane. Not the AT-6B Wolverine, this plane. The Super Tuc. And strangely enough, of all the planes that you would use to drop a bomb on Miraflores Palace in 2015, it would be this propeller-driven two-seater aircraft that we are just, for some strange reason, at White Sands Missile Range testing. And oh no, we just lost a pilot. Now, what do you think? I know what I think. And you can read this. I'll get you guys a link. So we have 3 administrations in the last 17 years that have tried to take this country down. Don't tell me this bullshit story about mismanagement anymore. This has been a plot going on for a long time to take this country down. And it goes back all the way prior to what looks like 9/11. You can't make this up. That the same exact plane would have been used. And now we are going to country after country after country and failing to get their support. The Chinese, the Russians, the Indians, the South Africans, Ecuador, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Italy. They're all on that map. And they all have formally recognized the government there. So before you go believe in any of this nonsense coming out of our government about what really caused the problem in Venezuela, it had nothing to do with no rainy day fund or mismanagement or lack of diversification. What it had to do with is a couple decades long plot for the U.S. to try to take control of Venezuela like it has its neighbor, Colombia. See, this is the logic disconnect that Americans have, and I'll leave with this since we're close to 10 minutes. We pump $500 million a year or more into Colombia, into a governmental system that we say should just work fine on its own because it's pro-American, it's pro-capitalist, it's free market and all this, but yet they need $500 million of our dollars every year to succeed. Venezuela didn't have any problems, any real problems that they couldn't handle on their own until 2015. And they did it in some evil, terrible, horrible socialist way. Prior to that, getting no money from the United States. I wonder what would happen if you took 250 million, split it down the middle, and sent it to both countries evenly. Let's see whose system wins and whose system fails. I think you really know the answer to that. Because look at Colombia, now barely holding on, running gun battles. Paramilitaries run the countryside. Human chop houses. People that speak out against the government are just shot, dead. So I'll leave it there. But just know, the last 3 administrations have absolutely everything in common when it comes to this issue. Like, share, subscribe.